Welcome to the Too Busy to Eat Show. I'm Greg Zuffalato, the host of this show. Today, we have Ryan Lowery with us. Ryan is a very, very smart guy. He's produced a massive amount of research. He has his BS and MS in exercise physiology and exercise and nutrition, and those for both from the University of Tampa. At Tampa, he became a national champion baseball player too, which is pretty cool. He's the president of the Applied Science and Performance Institute, which is a 22,000 square foot facility in Tampa that basically is combining research and science with practical application, with real life application, because they do all the carrying out the training on one part of the facility and the research on another part. It's a very unique place, which is pumping out massive amounts of research and very exciting to hear what's going on there. He's produced over 100 peer-reviewed papers, and he just released just a fantastic book that I'm reading right now, and I'm just blown away. It's called The Ketogenic Bible, The Authoritative Guide to Ketosis. And if you don't know what that is, listen to the interview. Ryan will explain it. But what's really great about the book and why the book is having so much success is it takes complex ideas, complex concepts, and it breaks it down to where everybody can understand it. And then when you can understand something, then you can apply it. So I'm excited what the Ketogenic Bible is going to do. I'm excited what they're doing down in Tampa at the Research Institute. And I'm excited to share the interview with you. So here we go. Well, welcome, Ryan. I am so excited that we finally, connected on our schedules, and I could have you on the Too Busy to Eat Show. So, welcome to the show.
Oh, thanks, Greg. It's an honor to be on, man. I'm super excited.
That's great. I'm fired up too, and we've started connecting. Starting to get to know you more and more, and got a fascinating history and education background. Why don't you give us a little part of the journey that's going to lead you through life, through all your different experiences to now?
Yeah, absolutely. It really has been a journey. So my entire life, I grew up in a small town, Butler, New Jersey. Okay. And kind of throughout my entire life, I was always fascinated with sport and playing sports, how to optimize sports. And I was always one of those kids who could eat anything. And I ate like garbage. I ate terribly growing up. And my parents it would be like chicken nuggets and French fries all the time. And I couldn't put on weight. And it was a big, big problem for me. A lot of people are probably like, oh man, like I wish I had that problem. But when you're playing sports with football and things like that, I was 160 pounds playing against guys like 180 and 190. Right. I was getting slobbered. So I was creamed. So that was a big challenge. And so I've always been fascinated in nutrition. And so I went on to play baseball at the University of Tampa. And there I met my colleague and now business partner, Dr. Jacob Wilson, very early on. And he was teaching a course on nutrition. It was one of my first courses that I took at the university. Yeah. And I originally went in for physical therapy, but soon realized I was like, this whole nutrition thing, like you can really make a career out of it. This is cool. This is my passion. And so I got involved with research with him, and we were at the University of Tampa. And ever since my freshman year of college, we were doing research projects. And I was like, wow, this is really, really
good stuff. Yeah.
And over time, we just did more and more research until we met Dr. Dom D'Agostino and Dr. Jeff Volek, who are two of our very good friends and colleagues now. And they were talking about this concept of like not eating carbohydrates and lowering carbohydrate intake. And coming from an athlete, I was like, wait, I'm chugging down mass gainer shakes that have like 200 grams of carbs in them themselves.
More than Dr. Dom eats in a month, Yeah.
And I'm like, what is this? And it was just so fascinating. And, we've always, Dr. Wilson and I always try and push the boundaries of human performance, whether that's physical or cognitive. Like, how can we really take what people are capable of and then push them to that next level? And so we were actually at a conference in 2010, and we heard Dr. Volek speaking about ketosis and the ketogenic diet. And on that, he was talking about incredible endurance performance stuff that he was going on. And at the end, someone raised their hand and they said, but Dr. Volek, what type of studies do you have on distance training? And he goes, to be honest, we don't have any.
Yeah.
And Dr. Wilson and I looked at each other and we're like, man, we got a lot of work to do.
That's
what we do. Like,
yeah.
This is kind of like, people are like, I don't know about this whole ketogenic thing.
Right,
so why not take the plunge? And ever since then, we've been studying not only the ketogenic diet, but various performance and training techniques, and really how to optimize performance, not only for our elite athletes, but for a mom or a dad who wants to be playing with their kids, and their grandfather who wants to stay around for a couple more years. And so we left academics, and now we've created something called the Applied Science and Performance Institute, which is a 22,000 square foot facility literally dedicated to bridging the gap between science and application, taking that complex scientific information, breaking it down for people to understand, so that way they can apply it to their lives.
That's pretty exciting. So you do, is that where all the research takes place too? Or is that, yeah.
So we do all the research in-house here at ASPN.
Because I know you pump out a lot of research, and then that's a full functioning training facility.
So we have both. So we have one side which kind of implements the science component, and then we also have an entire training floor where we are working with some of the most elite athletes in the world.
Right. And you're in Tampa, which is, there's not a shortage of professional athletes, high level athletes in that area.
Definitely not.
Yeah. That's really neat. So that journey, you've done that journey along with Dr. Wilson, you guys have continued on. And then a very exciting new development was your recent book. Why don't you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So that was a passion project for us. I mean, we were approached a little over a year ago about writing a book, and we just finally launched it 2 days ago. It's called the Ketogenic Bible.
Which is phenomenal, by the way, because I have a copy. I got early edition, and it's amazing.
Thank you. And it was a long time writing that, and it's really, truly, we tried to make the most comprehensive resource possible. Because the way ketosis and the ketogenic diet is growing, like it literally just surpassed paleo on Google search terms. It's like rapidly growing. How fast it's growing, there's so much misinformation, and people have more questions and answers, and we don't have all the answers by any means. And the point was to try and allow someone a resource where they can go to that has trusted information, that's scientifically backed, but delivered in a format that is understandable, user-friendly, and anyone could take away from.
Right. Well, why don't you do that for us briefly? Like, when you say ketogenic, what are you talking about for people listening
that don't? Yeah. So a ketogenic diet, I mean, in the most simple terms, it's a low carbohydrates, higher fat, moderate protein type of diet. And a lot of people have heard of the old Atkins diet, which was very popular in the 80s and 90s. And now it's kind of got this resurgence, but it's different in a sense that it's lower carbohydrate, not as high protein as Atkins was. But basically, I described it the other day to someone. I said, you know what? Fat is back. Fat is back, and it's here to stay. And I think a lot of people, for a long time, we were misled that fat was causing a lot of the issues in our diet and in our society, causing obesity and heart disease and things like that. But in reality, what it was is it's the combination of high amounts of fat, high amounts of carbohydrates that are driving that problem. It's the Big Mac you get at home, not the avocado that you're eating.
Right. Yeah. And they're not separating the two. And now your research, you're separating the two. Right. Is there in that realm of the ketogenic diet, is there been some exciting, I mean, you're doing a lot of research. I've been going through some of the things you're coming up with. What are some of the most exciting things that have recently come about?
Oh man, first and foremost, I mean, there's a ton of data, not only in the performance realm, but therapeutically. I mean, talking about things like traumatic brain injury is fascinating. Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, things like that are incredible. We've actually just completed a study looking at like longevity. What happens when you feed animals like a ketogenic diet their entire lives? Like what happens then? Like that's incredible to me. And on top of that, I think what's really, really exciting there's a ton of companies coming out with like these exogenous ketones. Like,
yes.
one of the ones, like Prove It is a perfect example. They're coming out with the groundbreaking products that are helping people not replacing the diet, but complementing the diet.
Yes.
And I think that's a very important piece is they're acting synergistically together to help someone maybe be more flexible in their approach to ketosis rather than have to go hardcore eating a super high fat diet, which for some people may not be maintainable.
Right. So these supplements now make it possible.
Yeah. And they're adding, we're seeing a lot of other benefits from cognitive aspects to energy. We're doing studies with performance with just the exogenous ketones alone and finding incredible results. So, I mean, we're just getting started in that brink. And I think it's going to be fascinating looking at how they perform on their own and how they can perform in combination with the diet.
Right. That is fascinating. I'd love to. Yeah. Well, I'll have to come to Tampa, and it's a day in the life of going through this research, because my background is science, and I was the same path. I was physical therapy and went into exercise and nutrition, and so I love looking at all the stuff you're doing. It's fascinating.
Absolutely, man. Thank you.
So how do you, like on a personal level, ketosis, I mean, what are some of the tricks you use? I mean, exogenous ketones is one, but what other things help you stay fit, healthy, energetic?
Yeah. And, that's why I actually love the name of the show, Too Busy to Eat. I mean, the concept, because a lot of times, whether it's traveling, whether it's business meetings, I mean, we have a ton of stuff going on.
Yeah.
It really is a concept of, my entire life, I've been fed this idea that you need to eat every 3 hours. Like everyone has this bodybuilding type mindset where it's like, I'm going to shrivel up and lose muscle. And I had that for a long time. And it took me a while to overcome that fear. And so for me, one of the ways I help maintain that is I do what I call intermittent eating. Some people call it fasting.
Right.
The F word seems to carry some negative weight for some people that are afraid of, like, oh my God, I'm restricting.
Yes.
I call it intermittent eating. And so I usually have like either some type of tea, coffee, or exogenous ketones in the morning.
Right.
I usually don't eat my first meal per se, which is usually like a Cobb salad. I'm a big Cobb salad guy.
Me too. Yeah.
So I usually have that not until like 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah.
And then I usually have like another meal for dinner. And for me, it's just been so beneficial for like my lifestyle and how busy I am on just a day-to-day basis. So I'm not always hangry or worrying about what I need to eat all the time.
So I know, because I'm almost the exact same schedule as you. It's fascinating, and I'm a Cobb salad fan. This is crazy, but I know people are listening, going, "How could I go from eating dinner to 2 o'clock the next day?" I mean, I'd be dying. But what's your experience in that?
Yeah, I think it takes time to adapt. It definitely
does. Right.
And whether you're switching to a ketogenic diet, or even if you're just incorporating in intermittent eating and not on a ketogenic diet, I think there's a ton of benefits of narrowing down that window. And there's a ton of intermittent fasting literature to support that. Yeah. And if you look at it, there's other ways to kind of combat that period. Taking in water and electrolytes, utilizing coffee with some type of like MCTs or coconut oil.
Yeah, right.
Everyone's heard of like the bulletproof craze that's been going on. That's a way to do it. Using exogenous ketones to kind of buffer that period and allow you to extend that fasting period a little bit longer. There's a ton of ways to utilize it. It's just getting creative with it and allowing your body to adapt.
Yeah. And I think that was the biggest, because it was a shock for me at first with intermittent fasting, was, oh my gosh, just psychologically. Yeah. And one thing, I don't know what, and I got this from Dr. Dom actually, is I did an extended fast. I did a 5-day fast, and going through the 5-day fast, mentally now, my little half-day deals are cake, but it was just a mental block. So do you incorporate anything? I know you do it daily. Do you do any extended post?
No, I haven't. I've done like 24, 30 hours fast. Like when I'm traveling, it just makes it easier.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
I'm not going to eat these peanuts on the airplane. That's not going to do it for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've done it 20. I've never gone like multiple day.
Okay. Yeah.
I think there's a ton of benefits that someone could achieve from it. I think, like you said, psychologically, it's a barrier that a lot of people overcome because they feel like, wow, like what happens if I were to do that?
Right.
And you think back to like our hunter-gatherer days, like if you think about that, that happened.
That's just what we did. I had this conversation with somebody earlier today. I mean, we literally, this is thousands of years of our existence is multiple days not eating and not sitting on a couch. We were hunting or, working and building and tracking and doing all this stuff. So yeah, so working out fasted, that's going to kill us. No way. It's great. Yeah.
Right. And I think we talked about this in the book a little bit. One of my favorite guys is Socrates. I think he said to eat when you are sick is to feed your sickness. And one of the biggest things is like people like that are extremely overweight and constantly in this have metabolic disease and all these issues. Ultimately, they're sick and they're feeding, and ultimately the choices that they're making are feeding that sickness. So it's okay. Like there's been studies that have shown people to fast for multiple days, weeks, and sometimes even months. I don't recommend months by any means, but working with your doctor and coming up with a protocol of saying like, listen, I want to get back on track. I need to address the root cause of the issue, which a lot of times is insulin resistance and not moving right and being active. Like it takes a big thing to overcome that, and intermittent eating could be a great way to start.
Good. Yeah. It's such a good fit with the ketogenic diet, but you're seeing and you see it, you're on the front lines and doing the research and following all the research that's coming out is the benefits. And that it's overwhelming when you see the research coming out going, this is saving lives. I mean, not eating or eating fat is saving lives.
It's incredible. And some of our really good friends, Dr. Thomas Seyfried, Dr. Adrian Sheck, and Dr. Dom, of course, like the work that they are doing with things like cancer, and Dr. Angela Paul, it's groundbreaking, and it's really turning this concept of that we need these hardcore drugs like chemo and radiation. Like Dr. Seyfried talks about something that is fascinating. He talks about the press pulse idea, where it's like we should be pressing with the ketogenic diet and pulsing with things like chemo and radiation instead of the inverse.
Right.
Where we press all these drugs and treatments, and then we try and provide them drugs to combat all the side effects that they have from radiation and chemotherapy, which are brutal. It's like completely wrapping our head around that nutrition can be a valuable tool and ultimately a medicine, so to speak. Yeah.
That's been interesting in the nutrition and the medical field. That Dr. Dom and I had that conversation where, and I know he's working a lot in this field, trying to get more education for doctors to understand the value of how powerful what we eat, is for all diseases.
It really is. And, it can be like another perfect example is our good friend, Dr. Mary Newport. And she has done incredible work with Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
She has an amazing story with her husband who suffered from Alzheimer's. And she used coconut oil to try and help him out. And so thinking about these neurological conditions, I think that's where the future is going to go as well. Yeah. If you think about something like Alzheimer's or Parkinson's, ultimately it stems from the brain's inability to properly take up and utilize glucose.
Yeah.
If that's the case, why aren't we at least thinking about an option of providing an alternative fuel source for the brain that can easily be taken up and utilized? Once we wrap our head around that, we can start seeing a lot more research going into these topics.
Which is made. So the alternate source is ketones, which is the one, the only other thing our brain is really going to survive on. And that's really, that's awesome. So you wrote, I mean, writing the book, I mean, you're in right in the thick of things with a ketogenic diet. What were some of as you're doing the research and putting the book together, what were some of the challenges as assembling that?
Oh, it's always fun for me. I look at it as a challenge for me as fun as taking these really complex ideas, like things when you're talking about cancer and Alzheimer's and multiple sclerosis, like when you're talking about these things and trying to make them understandable for the lay person, it's kind of a fun obstacle to try and overcome of breaking it down so that way someone can understand it. Because otherwise, we can talk about complex scientific things like histone deacetylase inhibitors and all these different things, and people are like, "Wow, that sounds cool." What that is?
1% of the population may be able to understand it, right?
Exactly, but in order for it to actually mean something and have the possibility to impact someone, they need to be able to understand it. And so, writing that resource covering all of those areas was amazing and fun for me to kind of be able to look through and look at all these different topics and be able to break them down and say, all right, here's the idea, here's the concept. Now, how can we deliver this to a person so that way they can take it away?
Yeah, that's really an art. I mean, that's an art to be able to do that and a lot of work.
Yes.
But you've done a fantastic job. That book is going to be, and I know it's doing, we're talking just a couple of days after its launch, and it's going to be an amazing impact. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you.
So that person that is the busy person, because too busy to eat, we get a lot of busy people listening to this podcast. What would you got an unhealthy person, maybe they're not fit, they're not eating well, but what would you give them a piece of advice to take one step towards bettering their health?
The key thing is everyone's got something. Everyone's busy. And my biggest thing is if you want to feel like $1 million, you can't eat off the dollar menu. Like that's the big takeaway. Like if you want to be like $1 million, you can't get by eating on the dollar menu. Right. You need to take care of your body. And I think that's a really important piece is find time to take care of yourself. You can take phone calls and take a walk. Like move every day.
Sure.
You don't sit in meetings every single day. I'm sure there's one phone call you could take where you can take a lap and walk for 15 minutes. Yeah. And when you're done with your day, trust me, your body will thank you if you don't stop for the Big Mac. And instead you say, all right, I'm going to take a little bit extra. I'm going to take an extra 2 minutes out of my day and go somewhere where I can put together a nice Cobb salad. Or I can go get something, even if it's on the go. And trust me, I eat on the go all the time. There's other options that you don't have to eat terrible, and you can still be on the go, keep up with that lifestyle, and make it work for you. That's
great advice. Just get started and don't shortchange. Focus on yourself. Spend time, energy, money to take care of yourself. It
matters, because if you don't now, and if you're a workaholic, and I know a lot of people who are listening to the show are, trust me, I'm with you. Like I'll grind 24 hours a day. It doesn't matter. But at some point, if you don't take care of your body now, you're going to pay for it later.
Yes.
You got to find the time to make sure that you're properly nourishing, taking care of yourself mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, all of that takes place now, and it'll pay off. It'll pay big dividends, not only now, but down the line.
That is fantastic. Well, Ryan, I wish you the best in the book release and all the things you have going on. I mean, there's a lot more we didn't talk about that's going on. So, but thanks for taking time to come onto the show.
My pleasure. Thank you very much, Greg, for having me on. It's been an honor.